Hello and welcome to Hank Games Without Hank. My name is John Green. I'm the manager of the Swindon Town Swoodly Poopers. We're taking on Everton. I would say that this is a game we must win, but in fact, it is not. It is a game we can lose, as long as we win our last game, because Manchester United lost, which is wonderful. Plus, we have a ginger referee, Derek Milborough, who is always generous to us. So, at the moment at least, everything is coming up Swoodly Pooper. This is our second to last game as a team together. The 11 boys who are starting, but also all the guys on the bench, all the guys in the reserve squad. We before the game, we just took some time. You know, if we win this game, I don't even know how it works. Like the confetti might fall today. We just took some time before the game to talk about how thankful we are, how excited we are. The FIFA 11 guys are excited to move into the future on their own. And, of course, Ball John Green and other John Green are excited to move into the future with me. We still haven't quite figured out the exact mechanics of that. There is always the TARDIS, but I don't really know how that thing works. So I don't know. I don't know if that's the best solution or not. But we're just going to try to win, and then we're going to see what happens with FIFA 13. Oh, buddy, you should have scored. Yeah, but I'll tell you, it's just been a magical ride for the Swoodly Poopers. There's no other way to say it. Today I'm going to talk about winning and losing and excitement and disappointment and how to deal with all of them. In life, it is, I think, the only thing more important than being a good loser is being a good winner, because the thing about being a bad winner is that if you're a bad winner, you don't actually win. This is the theme of the movie Cars, actually. Look at other John Green! He's an unstoppable machine. Oh, he was stopped. Then D. McGoldrocks with a not very good shot. You know, these guys clearly want to win this game, boy. So I want to talk about how to win well and how to lose well. The best way to win well is to be humble, even if you don't feel humble, and sportsmanlike, to show good sportsmanship. And that goes not just for when you are playing sports, but for when you win a spelling bee or the hand of the maiden whom you love, or whatever it is. It's really hard in that moment to be empathetic. Like, I remember one of the best tweets I saw on Election Day was some hardcore Obama supporter who said, remember that 47% of Americans are bummed out right now. And it's an important thing to be aware of, whether your team or your ideology or your whatever is winning or losing. It's important to remember that there are other people who feel differently and who are not monsters, and or many of whom aren't monsters anyway, and who feel disappointed or surprised or sad or whatever. And so I think, like, the key to both winning well and losing well, like the key to so much else in life, is empathy. You've got to imagine what it's like to be someone else. And you also have to trust that people in general aren't, like, out to get you or anything like that. People are making the best decisions that they can make. They aren't idiots. They aren't evil. They aren't. They don't have it in for you. One of the very difficult things about being a person is that you never get to know what it's like to be anyone else in any kind of, like, real way. Like, other people's lives can never be as real to you as your own life, and that is quite a problem. One that we spend, I think, like, basically most of our time either indulging or trying to get out of. When you can imagine that when you can understand other people's pain in the face of your loss is when you can be a good winner. And I'm always impressed with that in professional sports, or I'm usually impressed with it, I should say. That there is a fair amount of respect for, this is a fellow professional who doing the same thing I did, has sacrificed a lot to get to this point, and wanted to win this as much as I did and didn't. There was a great moment in last year's Carling Cup final in real life where, or what I consider to be real life. I guess to Fat Lucas it isn't real life. There was a great moment in last year's Carling Cup final. Come on, guys, we can't give up a goal here. Let's not be stupid. Okay. Where Steven Gerrard, I would argue the greatest player in the history of the world, certainly the best looking, was in a Carling Cup final against a team on which his cousin actually played, and his cousin missed a critical penalty that ended the game, and Liverpool won. And as all of these players on Liverpool are running together to celebrate, Steven Gerrard is running to his cousin to console him, and to say I know how it feels because Gerrard once missed a very, very important penalty. And that kind of sportsmanship is where real winning is made, right? Like the person who really, for me, the two people who really won in that moment were these two cousins for whom the game, even an extremely important game, was less important than their relationship. So that's I think so. I think the key is trying to be empathic, and trying to understand that someone else is like fully human and has their own their own wants and needs, and that like generally the other thing to remember, the thing I was going to talk about in the second half, is that good news for someone is almost always bad news for someone else. Like occasionally there will be like straight all the way good news, like we cured cancer. But that kind of news is very rare. Almost always, it's the kind of news where you're like, well, that's good if you're X and it's bad if you're Y. I remember like, Kurt Vonnegut once said about the firebombing of Dresden that it had benefited exactly one person, Kurt Vonnegut, because it inspired him to write the novel Slaughterhouse-Five, which then, went on to sell millions of copies and make him millions of dollars. So even in that extreme case, what was obviously the worst possible news for many people became indirectly, or so he said anyway, good news for Kurt Vonnegut. I think he was saying that, partly in jest and with the typical edge of anger and disgust that makes his work so good. But there's always you always have to think about who's benefiting, and in the case of like non-tragedies, like if you won a spelling bee and someone else, or if you lost a spelling bee and someone else won it, you have to think like, this is really nice for that person, and maybe they need it, and maybe in the end, like the world will be better served by this spelling bee winner than by another. And I think like once you start being able to do that in your life, you become just a lot like both. In a way, I get that it dulls the intensity of all experience, which is something that like teenagers in particular seem to hate. Like it seems like a lot of the teenagers I know, at least, would rather have like epic fails and epic wins than sort of like wins where they're conscious of the pain that their victory might have caused someone else, and losses where they're able to understand how glorious this is for someone else. I get that like the epic win and the epic fail feels much better. But I mean, in my life at least, like I'm a lot like happier and less crazy when I can contextualize it a little and keep the rises and the dips as low as possible. Plus, in the end, I think when you see yourself at the center of history, and you see like good news for you as good news for the world and bad news for you as bad news for the world, like when you get to that place, in the end, all you're really doing is becoming really controlled by your own narcissism, and you're being defined by that experience and not able to see like the world outside of yourself at all, and that's just not very fun. at least in my experience. Oh, speaking of my experience, I did not experience scoring a goal there. I was ready to say I experienced. Every time I have a good call, it doesn't work out. It's frustrating. Come on, boys. You're better than this. Better than this. Oh, so in short, like I think it's important to try to find a way to be gracious and grateful, no matter what the, yeah, when it's something that you care about. I don't know. I had this a lot with romantic relationships where they would go a way that maybe I didn't want, such as toward another boy. But boy, I am a lot. Well, I mean, you know, I guess if my wife left me for another dude, I'd be pretty upset. But part of the reason that doesn't happen is because I'm able to contextualize my life a little bit better than I was able to do when I was a kid. So, yeah. All right, looks like it might be a standard 0-0 draw for the Swoodly Poopers, which, again, is a victory because Manchester United just lost. And I think it puts us in a place where we could even draw the last game and still – I don't even know. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see what the results are. Oh, okay, it was a 0-0 draw. Looks like it's going to be another 0-0 draw. All we got to do is win tomorrow. Thanks for watching. Best wishes.